God bless you, everybody. Good morning. Happy New Year's to all of you. To God be the glory. We made it to a new year. The purpose of life. Our devotional text comes out of the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 36 and 37. And the word of the Lord tells us, coming from the Common English Bible: Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? He replied, he, meaning Jesus, replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your mind. The King James Version puts it like this: Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. The Message Bible says, Teacher, which command in God's law is the most important? Jesus said, Love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence. The New Living Translation says, Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Jesus replied, You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. That was the New Living Translation. The New Revised Standard Version says it like this, and the word of the Lord tells us, Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest? He said to them, he, meaning Jesus, said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. And I want to encourage somebody that on this New Year's Day, we have new life because of Jesus. And the thing is that God has a plan and a purpose for your life. And the purpose of your life is what God, and the thing that many of us, we don't know what our purpose is. If you do not know what your purpose is or what you have been called to do, God will let you know. In fact, God will reveal it to you. And we see here that Jesus is sharing with the disciples during this time that the first greatest commandment is that we have to love God with all, not with half, with all. Which means we got to love God with all that we have, with all that we got. Because God loved us with all, so we should be able to love God with all. And the purpose of life is to make sure that we are loving God with all our heart, soul, and mind. And not just that, the purpose of life is doing what God has called you to do. In fact, let's look up the word purpose. The meaning of the word purpose: the reason for which something is done or created, or which something exists. The purpose of life is knowing that God created you for a reason, and God created you on purpose. For an example, many people, somebody may say that their purpose is to be a lawyer or a dentist. And many times when it comes down to finding a job, a fine job, but hardly a reason for living. People tend to choose to be human doings rather than human beings. Who they are is what they do. Consequently, they do a lot. They work many hours because if they don't work, they don't have an identity. And we see here that many people choose to do different things because they want to. And then when something happens, they want to blame God and other people for the choices that they made. And the thing is that we're not going to find meaning in materialistic things. The purpose of life is to love God. God is the one who will satisfy all our needs. There is so much to figure out. What to study, what you're good at, why are you here? The one who has the answers is God. So seek God. God is the one who knows the future. There is one God, one plan, one life. When you love God, everything else will fall in place. When you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you are a new creature. You are a new person. Don't you know that God took you and made something new and beautiful out of your life? You have a purpose. Yes, you have been called. Yes, God called you. We all have callings on our life. We all have gifts. But the thing is that, do you know the purpose for your life? Do you know the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing? When it comes down for working for God, God has us things for a purpose and for a reason. And that purpose and reason is to give God glory and honor when working for God. And the thing is that it's not about materialistic things. It's not about that. It's about knowing that God has future plans and things in store for you. So if you are going through something and you are asking, what is the purpose of my life? The purpose of life is to love God with everything. And then Jesus told him that the second commandment is to love your neighbors as you love yourself. Which means when you love God with all, God will love you with all. Loving God shows you how to love yourself so that you can love others. When you know your purpose, help others to know what their purpose is.